Have you ever considered that the chocolate bar in your hand or the rubber tires on your car might be stained with the blood of millions? In the heart of Africa, a land of unparalleled beauty and unimaginable riches, lies a story so horrific, so systematically brutal, that it has been largely erased from the collective memory of the West. It is a story not of ancient empires or forgotten battles, but of a genocide driven by insatiable greed that predates and, in sheer scale of human suffering, rivals some of the darkest chapters in modern history. This is the Hidden Genocide in the Congo, a tale of plunder, mutilation and murder that unfolded under the very gaze of the world, yet somehow slipped through the cracks of historical consciousness. Our story begins not with a grand invasion, but with a cunning deception. In the late 19th century, as the scramble for Africa reached its fever pitch, one man stood apart in his ambition: King Leopold II of Belgium. Unlike other European powers who sought colonies for their nations, Leopold desired a private empire, a vast personal dominion. Through a brilliant, albeit morally bankrupt, propaganda campaign, he presented himself as a benevolent humanitarian, a liberator of Africa from the clutches of Arab slave traders. At the Berlin Conference of 1884-1885, where European powers carved up the continent with cynical indifference, Leopold, through masterful diplomacy, convinced the world that the Congo Free State would be a beacon of civilization, a haven for free trade and Christian missionary work. The reality, however, would be a nightmarish descent into hell. The Congo Free State was no free state. It was Leopold's personal prison, and its vast wealth of rubber and ivory was the key to his immense fortune. The indigenous Congolese people, who had lived for centuries in vibrant, self-sufficient communities along the mighty Congo River, were suddenly stripped of their autonomy and forced into a brutal system of forced labor. Leopold's private army, the Force Publique, comprised of mercenary officers and often conscripted Africans from other regions, became the instruments of his terror. Their mission was simple: extract as much rubber and ivory as possible by any means necessary. Imagine a village elder, his face etched with the wisdom of generations, forced from his peaceful life. He is told that if his community does not meet an impossible quota of wild rubber collected from the unforgiving jungle, he and his family will suffer unimaginable consequences. The rubber vines, once a source of natural bounty, became instruments of torture. Villagers, including women and children, were driven into the deep forests, often for weeks at a time, to tap the latex. Failure to meet quotas resulted in horrific punishments: floggings, imprisonment, the burning of villages, and perhaps most infamously, the severance of hands. One dramatic turn came with the chilling efficiency of the Force Publique's accounting. To prove that bullets were not being wasted on hunting animals or in insurrections, each soldier was required to present the severed hand of a victim for every bullet expended. This grotesque system led to an unspeakable practice. If a soldier missed a shot or used a bullet for personal reasons, they would often cut off the hands of living Congolese people to present as proof. Children, particularly, became targets, their small hands easier to sever and present as evidence. Imagine the terror, the screams, as this barbaric accounting was carried out, not in the shadows, but as a systematic policy. The river, once a vibrant artery of life, became a silent witness to countless atrocities, its waters carrying the whispers of despair. The true horror of Leopold's regime was meticulously documented, not by the king himself, but by a handful of courageous individuals whose moral compasses remained true amidst the surrounding darkness. One such figure was E.D. Morel, a shipping clerk who in 1903 noticed discrepancies in the cargo manifests. Ships arriving from the Congo were laden with vast quantities of rubber and ivory, yet returning ships carried only soldiers and weapons. No legitimate trade goods, no compensation for the immense wealth flowing out. This simple observation ignited a fire in Morel, leading him to become one of the most vocal and persistent critics of Leopold's regime, tirelessly exposing the atrocities through his writings and speeches. He, alongside Roger Casement, a British diplomat whose 1904 report detailed widespread mutilations and mass killings, meticulously gathered evidence that painted a damning picture of a state built on human suffering. Another harrowing revelation emerged from the accounts of Christian missionaries who, despite initial hopes of civilizing the region, bore witness to the unspeakable. They sent letters, smuggled photographs, and spoke out against the brutality, often at great personal risk. One particular image seared into the historical record is that of Nsala, a Congolese man staring at the severed hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter Boali, whose limbs were cut off because her village failed to meet its rubber quota. This image, a stark testament to the barbarity, brought the distant horror into the drawing rooms of Europe and America, challenging the carefully constructed facade of Leopold's benevolence. These reports, once dismissed as exaggerations, slowly began to pierce the veil of silence. By the time international pressure finally forced Leopold to relinquish control of the Congo to the Belgian state in 1908, the damage was catastrophic. The population of the Congo is estimated to have plummeted by as much as 10 to 15 million people during Leopold's reign, a demographic catastrophe that dwarfs many other known genocides. The land, once teeming with life and ancient traditions, was left scarred, its people traumatized and its resources plundered. The economic and social structures were shattered, setting the stage for decades of instability and exploitation that continue to plague the region to this day. The echoes of Leopold's greed resonate in the ongoing conflicts over mineral resources in the Congo, a tragic legacy of a past deliberately obscured. The story of the Congo Free State is not just a forgotten chapter. It is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked power and systemic dehumanization driven by colonial ambition. It is a cautionary tale of how easily propaganda can mask unspeakable crimes and how the pursuit of profit can trample upon human dignity. Why is this hidden genocide, which saw millions perish, not as widely known or discussed as other historical atrocities? Perhaps it challenges comforting narratives about Western benevolence, or perhaps the sheer scale of the suffering simply remains too uncomfortable to confront. The question then remains, what other untold stories lie buried beneath the surface of official histories, waiting to be unearthed? If the story of the Congo Free State can be so effectively suppressed for so long, what other truths are we yet to discover about the interconnected histories of Africa and Asia and their profound impact on the world we inhabit today? Join us next time as we continue our journey into the uncharted territories of history. If you found this exploration into the hidden genocide in the Congo both unsettling and enlightening, please consider liking this video, subscribing to History Off the Map, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more of these vital, often overlooked narratives to light.